This is the CFMT television system on Cable 4 in Toronto.
Good evening, my friends, and welcome back, everybody. I'm Tom, and the Colorcast is on the air now from CBS. In Los Angeles, California, it's June the 10th, 1997. Our old friend Mary Matalin is here tonight. We were colleagues at CNBC, the cable network, in a previous lifetime, and she is now heard from 3 to 6 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday, on the CBS Talk Radio Network. And then a bit later on, the actor Anthony Lapaglia, who has a brand new motion picture coming out on the Showtime television network. There'll be no phone calls tonight. We are videotaping this program at 3:15 p.m. Pacific time to accommodate Mary Matalin, who, as you know, is the mother of a 2-year-old daughter. And it's not possible for her to stay up until 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. And I love her so much, I'm taping in the afternoon, even though I hate it. You know, I cannot stand working in the daytime. It's dark in here, but I know it's bright outside, which is stupid, but then again, that describes me. You know, I've worked nights my whole life, either the 11 o'clock news or the old Tomorrow Show for NBC, late night radio, and now this gig here at CBS. And for me to come to work in the middle of the day is absolutely no good. Number one, this is on videotape, so if I really louse it up, I know I can stop and start all over. And secondly, with videotape, I can't get you on the toll-free line. It's not up and running tonight. And phone calls tend to help this along every now and again. If I could give you an example. When I worked for radio for ABC some years back, we did a show one night on your most embarrassing moment. And a guy called up from the San Francisco Bay Area and described a high school date where he and a friend took 2 gals to the movies, and then they went to a restaurant for dinner in the San Francisco area. And before they sat down, they all went to the restroom, the ladies' room and the men's room, to, you know, wash their hands and get ready for dinner. And they all came back and sat down, and as the guy told the story, it dawned on him that when he left the men's room, he forgot to re-zip, if you catch my drift. And so he reached under and took care of that. And what he didn't realize was he zipped the tablecloth into his pants. So when they stood up to leave at the end of the meal, all the dishes and the silverware went on the floor. And stuff like that tends to help it along. So if somebody out there could just zip the tablecloth as we go along tonight and make a mess, I'll see it as it happens before my very eyes. Mary Matalin tonight from the radio studios in Washington, D.C., and then the actor Anthony Lapaglia with a brand new picture coming up on the Showtime television network. Thank you all for watching. We will continue after these massages.
Canada's first multicultural television system in Coburg on Cable 4.
My friend Mary Matalin is a savvy political strategist who has worked for top Republican candidates, including George Bush when he ran for the presidency. So it seemed a bit ironic to a lot of people when she married the opposition, James Carville, who is a top Democratic strategist, proving that love can even conquer politics. They've been married almost 4 years now. Mary has a little baby girl, Maddie, who's 2, and her own radio show on the CBS Talk Radio Network, where she has just finished up from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Mary, thanks for coming on, and welcome back to CBS.
Oh, Tom, I feel like I'm causing you to have like a meltdown to come out in the middle of the day. Thank you for coming out. And I'm not staying up because of Maddie. I can't stay up because of my husband, who behaves like a 2-year-old. He can't stay up past 10.
Well, it's not a meltdown here, Mary. It's just a general softening all the way around. The last time that we talked, you were expecting Maddie, I think, and you had said to me that when you left the delivery room, you were going straight to the bar for a martini and a cigarette. Update me on that.
Is that how long it's been since we've talked? Oh, my God, I miss you. No wonder I miss you so much. Well, let's just say my martini intake has steadied, stabilized, and my nicotine habit is reduced, but ever present.
What are the listeners talking about? What did you chat about on the radio this afternoon? What are the burning issues of the day?
Oh, well, we talked about most favored nation status with China, and we talked about Al Gore that evil Al Gore. And, you know, when you got 3 hours, you can cover a lot of stuff. But you're right about not having that lifeline to the people. I really have come to, I think of this as like a family thing every day. They are, they're out there and they're real, and I enjoy that. It's a labor of love.
What is their take, if any, on this thing with General Joseph Ralston now, the fellow who was going to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, but has now taken his name out from nomination because he had an affair 11 years ago?
They're more split on Air Force General Ralston than they were on Kelly Flynn. We had a pretty much across-the-board objection to Lieutenant Flynn's behavior. No one thought it was a double standard. They thought that she did disobey an order, and that was grounds for the treatment that she did receive. But they're kind of split on Ralston, although I'm not. I think it was a loss to the military and a loss to the country, and I think we've gone PC crazy, and the Congress is a bunch of wimps.
Well, Caspar Weinberger, the former defense secretary under Ronald Reagan, said the other day that we promote people to the rank of general to lead and command and not be celibate. And I found a ring of truth in that. And I'm just wondering now if you're as nonplussed as I am by this spate of sexual charges in the military. It's not just Kelly Flynn, and it's not just General Ralston. We've had a rash of sexual allegations here involving the military, and I sometimes wonder, why is this all coming out now? And hasn't it probably been going on for as long as there have been women in the military and men together?
That you are absolutely right. Why it's coming out now is a testament to the power of the feminists and the pervasiveness and depth of their persuasion. I'll say again, the Senate and the Congress are wimps. They're politically correct on this stuff. They won't go up because they don't want to be charged with being sexist. But there is a common sense rule that the military follows here. It is not criminal under the military code to commit adultery. It is only infractious when the infidelity disrupts good order or discredits the service, which in the case of General Ralston did neither. He was separated from his wife. It was a civilian woman. This is what those who are calling a witch hunt, they are right. And until some of these guys, and they are mostly guys, stand up against these women. And you know, Tom, you will appreciate this and know exactly what I mean. I am getting the biggest complaints about these witch hunts from women. Women want to be protected. Women want the best people in the military, whatever they are.
We all do. We all want the best people in the military. But let me go back here before you go ahead to this idea that somehow an extramarital affair is going to disrupt the morale and the spirit of the military. I mean, if we take that at face value, and I hear this coming from people in Congress and from older hands in the military, this idea of preserving morale and esprit de corps, then why didn't the military fall apart when Dwight Eisenhower had an affair with his driver during World War II? This is not something new. You know, command having affairs doesn't cause the troops to go over the hill.
Well, first of all, that is an urban myth. Truly, having met on several occasions and read the book of Dwight Eisenhower's granddaughter, that affair never took place.
Well, that's what she says.
Well, that's what she documents, and there's no evidence to the contrary. But your point is...
Was she at D-Day with Ike? Does she know?
Because the woman who was alleged, Kay Summersby, who was alleged to have had this affair with Ike, she says she didn't have it, and all of her friends who were there say she didn't have it. There's no testament to the contrary on this, just some movie makers made it up. But your point is well taken. I'm sure it does happen. But I could see an instance where, like in the Kelly Flynn case, where she disobeys a direct order and is fraternizing with an enlisted person, how that would demoralize other enlisted people. So
I don't know.
You have to be flexible on this. I'm not a Puritan on this stuff. You put men and women together, you put some men and men together, guess what's going to happen?
Guess what's going to happen, right.
Nature takes over.
Sex will rear its ugly head. Why do they always call it its ugly head?
Well, it depends with whom you're having sex, I guess.
Well, this is also true, isn't it? Now, let me ask you here, and then we'll get off Kelly Flynn in the military. She was ordered by her commander not to fraternize or have an affair or relationship with enlisted personnel. Was that the order that she violated?
No, the order she violated was to cease having an affair with an enlisted woman's husband. So they told her to stop having the affair, and they wrote it down. By the time you get to a written order, you've gone through several tellings of this order.
I can speak from experience on that, but where in the Uniform Code of Military Justice does it say, Or where in the Constitution does it say that because someone is in the military, they give up their right to free will and free exercise of action and can be commanded by a superior not to have a love affair? I mean, to me, what kind of an order is that? That's not forward march. That's not defend the falls.
I can't believe you're asking this question that you know the answer to. When you join the military, that is a unique institution, and you do give up certain rights, and that's one of them that you give up. You can't mess with your partner's husband. You can't dip your ink in the company well, or whatever the heck that thing is.
That's very well said. It's dip your pen in the company well.
Whatever, you got the drift.
And remove the company ink, right.
That's right, and that is something you agree to when you join the military.
Well, around here we use pencil. We will, we will continue with Mary Matalin, who is the host of the Mary Matalin Show weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. Check it out on CBS Talk Radio. Back after these messages. Back with Mary Matalin, who joins us from, is this the radio studio we find you in, or the office that we find you in?
Well, the office is in the radio studio.
Is the microphone right behind you or something like that? Give me a little tour there.
No, this is my junky office, but we're moving studios. It's not even worth doing a tour. I really miss you, Tom. You cracked me up. I was just saying on the break to your folks here how much fun we had before. You never know what you have till you lose it.
Isn't that the truth? You know, I sometimes think we could all just go back to CNBC and make nice again, you know? But you and I both know we can't.
Or make any money.
Now, since Kate Summersby never said she had an affair with Dwight Eisenhower, and we believe her, then we would also believe Bill Clinton when he says the thing with Paula Jones never happened, right?
I'll only cite as evidence that it did happen. Well, let's just wait and see what his distinguishing characteristics are. And this is only circumstantial, but he was prepared to settle at one point until some quintonistas, not the least of which was my screeching, frothing, rabid husband, started trashing Paula Jones, and then she got all upset again and blew up the settlement. So I think agreeing to settle is indicative of some complicity.
Or maybe indicative of just wanting to make it go away so it doesn't keep popping up in the headlines day after day.
And which is what he ought to do now, because they start bringing Danny Ferguson in, who was the trooper, who everyone agrees did bring her to the room. They have that direct testimony from him, but they start talking. Danny Ferguson was also the man whom Clinton called and offered a federal job to not testify. So this gets ugly real fast, and I think the president would be well advised to just get past it quick.
Why do you think a lot of people really don't care if Bill Clinton and Paula Jones had a meeting in a hotel room? And a lot of people don't care if he was involved in a land scheme at Whitewater. And a lot of people don't care if he raised money by having people sleep in the Lincoln bedroom. And a lot of people don't care that rumors keep coming up about the untimely death of Vince Foster. I mean, all these things keep coming up over and over again, and yet his popularity continues to increase. Now, why do you think that is?
Well, my theory on that is that and the way I like to express it is that we've always had low expectations for Bill Clinton, and he's consistently met them. We never thought that he aspired to greatness, and he never got there. But there was just a poll out this week that said some 64% of Americans believe that in 25 years, Bill Clinton will be remembered for the scandals, not for any other legacy, and that seems to be what he's concerned about now. And I do think our not caring...
Well, in much the same way that Herbert Hoover, for whatever he might have done as president, will be remembered as the man who brought on the Great Depression. And that may not be fair, but that's the way people remember him. Or that Richard Nixon will always be thought of as the president who resigned in disgrace, and people will forget the fact that his handling of the economy was very good, and his foreign policy, especially the bridge to China, was a notable achievement. That'll all be forgotten 50 years from now.
Point well taken. I'll tell you what I'll remember if I'm alive 25 years from now is that Bill Clinton was a precipitous assistance to the Republican Party. His detraction to him helped get Republicans elected and reelected for the first time in 68 years, and he's generally pursued a course, in fact, has been able to articulate a conservative course better than we have. I just don't think that's what he is in real life. So, what I was going to say is I don't think people don't care I don't think they're not caring, and you're right that they don't care, is endemic to the culture. I think it's specific to Bill Clinton, and we will, in our next president, and it'll be a free-for-all on both sides, we'll look at some of these so-called character issues that we haven't looked for in Bill Clinton.
Yeah, which brings up the question, who would want to run for the job considering all the scrutiny you have to go through? I mean, they put you under a microscope that few of us could pass in terms of testing for purity in all areas of our lives.
I could not agree more. My husband has a way of saying this. We're going to pick people apart. We're going to expect such goody-goodies to get into office. You wouldn't want to be governed by these kind of people. They would have never lived.
Right, right. Let me ask you here then about 2000, considering and I'm going to put the word scandals in quote here, that Clinton endures and continues to endure and probably will all through his presidency. How much of that will slop over onto Al Gore should he be the Democratic candidate for the presidency in the year 2000?
Well, the Democrats, and believe me, Republicans will just stand back under the theory of never interfere with your enemy when he's in the process of destroying himself. But it will be the Democrats in the primary that will try to make Clinton's improprieties splash over onto Gore. But I don't think they'll be successful. Voters are smart. They'll look at Al Gore's own improprieties, which are manifest and multiple, and he's beginning to have, this is sort of the buzz inside the Beltway, he's beginning to have a very serious credibility problem and a phony. He's beginning to take on the patina of a phony for using his family as props in both the convention speeches and different things that he's done that speak
Mary,
to his...
all politicians use their families as props.
Not in the way that Al Gore did, particularly in this last convention when he said, with my dying breath, I held my dying sister's hands and she died of lung cancer, so with my dying, I'm going to fight cigarettes till my dying breath. Well, it turns out he wasn't even with his sister when she died. He was across the state speaking to a Kiwanis club. Listen, the mainstream press doesn't like stuff like that. I've been on the other side of them. I know when they get down on you, they get down on you big time.
You got it. Yeah. And how do we know he was across the state giving a speech when he said his sister was dying?
Because someone looked up Tucker Carlson, a reporter, looked up his schedule for that day, and he was giving a speech to the Kiwanis Club. He also gave an interview to the United Press International that day, which is on the record as that day that his sister died. I mean, that was easy enough to document.
So then, when the time comes, his feet will be held to the fire, and they should be on that particular issue and that particular story involving the passing of a human life, his sister. Yeah, he should answer for that.
And there's many other instances like that. I just wanted to tell you the one that popped to my mind first.
And who is the great white hope for the Republicans? And I use that in the literal sense for the Republicans in 2000.
Oh, we don't have any. We have no one but white hopes. Is that what you're saying? What about Elizabeth Dole? She might run.
What about her?
She might run. We have you know what? We have, and I really mean this truly. I don't have a candidate. We have a lot of guys, and maybe Elizabeth Dole, maybe other women that are going to look at it. But I think what the problem with the party is right now is not that it doesn't have good leaders. It has too many leaders, and because it's the majority party for the first time in over half a century, it's really fractured right now.
Right.
I think that debate is healthy if we would have a debate that's healthy and not so much a political debate, but a philosophical debate on policy. So we don't, and even when we do, it doesn't get reported in the mainstream press. So it's going to be a long time between here and 2000, but an exciting time to be in politics.
Yeah,
I wish we were doing a political show, Tom.
I would think of Christine Todd Whitman, the governor of New Jersey, and Elizabeth Dole, and Dan Quayle, the former vice president. And what about Colin Powell? Do you think he would ever stand for office?
No, I really don't. He really is
shame.
Enjoying his life. Yeah, he'd be terrific for the country and for either party, although he's declared his party to be the Republican. He'd be terrific. But, you know, it's getting so a lot of guys, this goes back to your previous point, who would want to put themselves or their family through this? Not just the scrutiny, but how much money it takes, how many days you have to be on the road, just a lot of superfluous stuff that has nothing to do with governing or developing policies. And I think it's getting to the point now where a lot of guys and women are finding they have just as great an impact in think tanks or doing volunteer political activity than even running, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, let me take a little break here. Before we go, can you lean to your left a little bit? What's that? There's a bumper sticker behind you, some kind of...
It's from the last campaign, Dole Kemp. I'm never too far away from the campaign.
Oh, Okay. With Mary Matalin from the Mary Matalin program on the CBS Talk Radio Network, back after this short break. Back with Mary Matalin. I'm told by my crew here that when you were not present, the bumper sticker behind you says, you pardon, we impeach. What does that have to do with the Dole Kemp campaign?
Oh, that was another bumper sticker. Sorry, I didn't know which one you were looking at. Just, I think it speaks for itself, don't you?
Well, not really, because as I recall, the pardons were issued by the Republicans in 1974. But anyway, let me get off of politics and ask about, how's Maddie? How's the 2-year-old doing, okay?
You never stop. I can't, she's just so spectacular. I can't even begin to describe her. Every single endless cliche that you could ever apply to her, to babies that people do, applies to her. She started walking at 10 months. I can't believe it's been that long since I've talked to her. And she started yakking at about 8 months, and she hasn't stopped. She talks all the time.
And how is she different from what you expected a child to be when you didn't have one? You think when the baby's born, well, here's what's going to happen. We're going to be up late. We're going to change diapers. We're going to have intrusion in our life or whatever, you and Jim. How is it different? Is it better than expected? Does it exceed your anticipation, not exceed them, stuff like that?
Oh, what a great question. It's so beyond imagining. I never thought anything could bring this much joy, but a special joy that no one told me about, which made it even more pleasurable, is watching her father with her, watching James become a father and go from that terror. He was so terrorized when she was a little bitty in that blob stage. And he literally starts, he wells up with tears when he talks to her. When we're on the road, he starts crying when he calls her. I mean, he is, as he is in all things, out of control. But he is so enamored with this child that it's so beautiful to watch. And love just grows and grows and grows. It's so much fun. I
know, it's wonderful. And you know, I can tell you when my granddaughter was born, the anticipation of a granddaughter is one thing, but the realization and the reality is so beyond what you expected that, as you say, there are no words for it. You can't formulate ideas about it because it's so wonderful. Let me ask you here about future plans for your family, brothers and sisters for Maddie. How do you feel about that?
We'd love to, but I'm no spring chicken, as you know.
Oh, stop.
It's not worth that, like we're not trying. I keep saying my husband's been wonderful. Talk about rising to the occasion. He's always right there. But it's just not, it's not worked out so far. But we're going to keep trying. She is a miracle child and was not easy to come by in the first place. So we kind of keep that in perspective. We'll keep trying, but I'm not going to be 63 and go to some clinic in Europe, though.
And what about future political plans? Will you work for a candidate in 2000? Gee, I'm having trouble getting beyond this century. Forgive me.
Yeah, oh, it's tough. Isn't it exciting? We're crossing that toll bridge to the 21st century.
Here's hoping, by the way, it's a bridge wide enough to carry us all, as a friend of ours said.
You just never stop.
No.
You just never stop. I'll work if you let me come on and talk about my campaign on the show.
How's life on the radio, kid? Do you like it a lot?
It's, well, you gave me a lot of good advice and I kicked off. I don't think you told me how hard it is a ton of fun, but you didn't tell me how hard work it was. You make everything look so effortless. Is it for you? Because I find it it's a lot of hard work.
I found 3 hours of radio per day easier to do than 1 hour of television. Don't ask me why, but I just have an affinity for what you do for a living. The time just sailed by for me.
You think that's harder than 1 hour TV?
Yep. No, I think it's easier. I think 3 hours of radio is easier than 1 hour of TV. It sometimes went faster than this goes in my little clock up here, which is weird.
That is weird, but you are weird. That's why I love you. We're two peas in a pod.
Well, you're pretty weird yourself. Anyway, give my best to James, will you, and give Maddie a hug for me. And thanks for accommodating us. You know, I love you to death, and I'm always pleased to have you on this show.
Thanks for having me. I love you. I love you. I miss you. Bye.
Oh, okay. Goodbye, Info Babe. Take care. From the good old days at CNBC, our pal Mary Matalin. You can enjoy her weekdays on the CBS Talk Radio Network. On the Mary Matalin Show, check it out from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, 12 to 3 Pacific Time. Next, the actor Anthony Lapaglia after this brief timeout. Yeah, this would be a timeout. Yeah, daytime. I can't help it. It's the middle of the day. Joining us now is Anthony Lapaglia, who is well known to everybody who enjoyed Murder One this past season on ABC TV. And through the month of June, he stars in the Showtime original movie, The Garden of Redemption. Nice to have you back, Anthony, and welcome back to CBS.
Nice to be back, Tom.
The last time we talked a little bit here about your days in Australia. Although you are an Italian, you were born in Australia, your mom and dad lived there.
Right.
And if I read right, you had an early passion for soccer. You truly love this game, huh?
Yeah, I played in the professional leagues there. I got signed on when I was 15 as a what they call an understudy goalkeeper.
Okay.
And I had to do an apprenticeship for a couple of years, and then kind of moved up from there.
And then you played professionally, and if I read right again, your goal was to play soccer all over Europe, to be a pro soccer player.
As a kid, you know, as a young kid, my ultimate dream was to go to Europe and play in the English league or the Italian league, but the truth was I didn't quite have the chops for it.
Okay. And why has that game not taken off here as it has around the rest of the world? I mean, it's gotten a little bit more popular when, you know, they had the World Cup here, but why hasn't it really taken off?
Attention deficit disorder, I think, is the big problem with soccer in this country.
Yeah.
Is basically it's not high scoring enough. You know, you have basketball, baseball, football, all of which, for the most part, are relatively decent scoring games. Soccer, you can people can't see the value in seeing a 0-0 tie. But if you're a soccer aficionado, that can be the most exciting game.
Well, and for true baseball fans,
right?
A pitcher's duel, a scoreless game through 9 innings.
Right. So they get it for baseball, but I guess soccer is just not. It's un-American. I don't know. I don't get it.
No, I think you got it right. It's attention deficit disorder.
You know, you have to pay attention to soccer.
Yeah, to the intricacies of the game, the fine
It's a very
points
complicated game.
Yeah.
It played right. It really is a thing of beauty. The tactics, like different countries have different styles. If you watch the Brazilian team is all footwork, passing. They play a very patient game. They play from the back four and push up, wait for the opportunity to score. That bores some people. The English game is a lot faster. They use a lot of long balls and cross balls, and it's a lot more physical.
See, we would like that here because we're used to the grand slam home run or the touchdown pass or the three-point play in basketball.
I think the English style of soccer would probably be the best kind of brand to promote here. But I think you just have a history that does not include soccer. And plus, you know, like when soccer started I really was interested watching ESPN when the World Cup was here. And the United States did a brilliant job in staging and promoting
merchandising,
soccer.
right?
Yeah, they did a great job, and it was first rate, first class everywhere. And yet the guys on ESPN continually ridiculed the game.
Yeah.
I mean, they would get on ESPN and like dismiss it, make fun of it, like it's just not, you can't take it seriously, which I thought was kind of ignorant. Given the fact that they were carrying it, number one, and number two, that it was fully sponsored by corporate America. Right, and given the fact that it is probably the most played sport in the world.
When did, here's the cliche, the acting bug bite?
Quite late, actually. As a result of not playing soccer anymore, I was kind of adrift. And at about 21 or 22, the acting thing kind of occurred to me.
And what about your parents? Were they waiting for you to get a real job when the soccer...
Well, you see, I actually, while I was playing soccer, because I was so young, I still had to go to school. So I continued, and I went to college, and I graduated as an elementary school teacher.
Oh, very good.
Well, yes.
Very good, but you would always have that to fall back on.
That's what my father thought, but I had no intention of falling back on it. So I wouldn't inflict that on kids. But I really was kind of like at a loss what to do. And it had never occurred to me that acting was any kind of possibility.
Oh, it's a great gig. There's no heavy lifting. You have to memorize a little bit.
I didn't know this, though. I mean, where I grew up in Australia, being an actor is like saying you want to be the first man to set foot on Mars. Right. There's no real correlation. There's no actors there. There was no.
Paul Hogan.
He's not from Adelaide, though, in South Australia.
Well,
he came from the Big Smoke in Sydney. And just the kind of upbringing I had, it was much more geared towards becoming a professional.
Right. Good, steady job.
Yes.
Good, steady job.
And acting certainly did not represent that. So there was a little bit of resistance in the beginning.
Now, unlike Paul Hogan, you don't have the accent, the brogue anymore.
No. I've been living in New York for in the States for 15 years. And one of the first decisions I made when I got here was if I wanted to work in the American film industry, I was going to have to lose the accent because I'd be limited. And I'm also a great believer in integration. If you come to another country...
Right, assimilate, right?
Assimilate into the country.
When in Rome.
Yeah, and I'd noticed, you know, like in my own country, in Australia, that there were ethnic pockets that would not assimilate. And I noticed it here, that people come from another country and basically set up their own small version. And I always think, how sad, because they're missing out on what the country has to offer. And people, I think, assimilate like that or congregate like that out of fear. They want to feel protected somehow. So, you know, they'll start their own little community.
Yeah, rather than take the risk of joining the larger community.
Absolutely.
They will husband themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I understand why it happens, but I also think that it's sad in that they're missing out. To me, they're missing out on a great deal, because when you assimilate into a new culture and into a new country, you just gain so much. And this, in particular, like the United States, is it's a great
Well, as
country.
the comedian Yakov Smirnoff said, what a country.
What a country.
What a country.
And I really believe in what a country.
Now, how difficult to lose the accent? Did you have to work at that?
I did work at that, but not that long. In the first year that I was here, for the first 6 months, I went out and I rented Dog Day Afternoon. And I taped certain segments of Dog Day Afternoon. And I had a dual cassette player. And so I would play, you know, some scene from Dog Day Afternoon.
Al Pacino, right?
You know, Attica, whatever. And then I would repeat what I heard into the other cassette and then play it back and hear how close it was.
Okay.
So I did that for about, I did that every day for like at least a half an hour for about 6 months.
By the way, it's not that unusual. I have a friend who lives here in Los Angeles who came here from Europe many years ago to work in New York City. And he watched television late at night and would speak back to the television set, didn't have a tape recorder, but he would speak back to Jackie Gleason or Milton Berle or whoever until he could speak English, speak American.
It's, you know, television is a great educator that way. It was, you know, I certainly used it that way as well.
And what about the experience of living in New York City? You know, I lived there for 12 years and I loved every day of it.
Me too.
But as I said, you know, in New York, every day is an experience, not necessarily a good one.
Good way, that's exactly right. Well, you know, New York is, when I first moved to New York, I mean, I really did it the hard way. I didn't have any money, and you know, in New York, it costs you $20 to change your mind.
That's right.
But at the time, I was so kind of like in awe of the city.
Oh, I know.
And so involved in this new life that I was creating for myself that it never occurred to me that anything was bad. It just was all great to me. Now it's a little different. You know, I spent a bit of time out here. I like LA.
Although I've not been to New York since last October, but the last time there, I noticed that the quality of life in New York has greatly improved.
Listen,
I mean, the subways work again and they're cleaned up.
No matter what people think of Giuliani, he's really done quite a good job in New York. And I read a really interesting article about him that basically said that he attacks the small issues. He's like a very impatient guy.
That's right, that's right.
And he attacks like the things that, and he basically believes that if you attack enough of the small issues.
Big results will happen.
And be impatient about them, that big results will happen, and I think it's worked.
The only one that, when I was there in October, I noticed that His Honor has not addressed are the taxi cabs. And the taxi...
I wish they would, because that, to me, it's like taking your life in your own hands.
Well, not only that, but where do they take the taxis to prepare them for service to the public?
I think they take them to some kind of junkyard.
No, they take them, first they fill all the ashtrays with cigarette butts. They remove the shock absorbers, okay?
See, I can deal with all of that. But I can't deal with the fact that I get into a cab and then the guy that's taking me somewhere doesn't know where he's going. He has no clue. Yeah, and I'm sitting there saying, you're going to go left and then take a right. And then they're mad at me for telling them, but they don't know where they're going.
And also, we don't have to exceed the land speed record getting there. It's okay if we don't go 100 on the FDR.
I got into the biggest altercation in New York. There was, I guess he was like I think he was like a Russian guy, older Russian guy driving a cab. He was driving at approximately 3,000 miles an hour down 10th Avenue, screaming at invisible people all the way down there until I got to 50th Street. And I got out of the cab, but I didn't get out on the sidewalk side. I got out on the
traffic side.
Traffic side, but there was no traffic because I looked. He starts screaming at me, you know, calling me every name under the sun, and I lose it. And I'm kicking the door, and I'm screaming at him. You know, I'm like relatively, you know, I should be adult. Next minute, a limo pulls up, and the window goes down. And there's like this young limo driver from Jersey. He goes, "Hey, aren't you that Anthony Lapaglia guy?" And I was like, ah,
that Lapaglia guy.
Lapaglia guy, yeah, I know. But I'm in the middle of like bashing this cab in, and this guy's busting me right there. So,
see, if I say Lapaglia, we got to stop taping.
We got to stop taping, Sturdy. I don't know, but that's the usual pronunciation.
We're with Tony the Pegs, who's
exactly.
The Garden of Redemption is the new picture on Showtime, which we'll get to in just a second, right after this short timeout. Back with Anthony Lapaglia. Now, in the picture for Showtime, you play a priest.
I do.
How do you research playing a priest? Did you,
well,
you hear confessions?
I had automatic research. I went to Catholic school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I kind of got taught by Jesuit priests.
Oh, you too? Me too.
Yeah, and Brigitte nuns. So I had all the background I needed to play a priest.
Was it weird to put the collar on?
It really was kind of strange in the beginning. And then I kind of really dug it. I wanted to keep the cassock after I was done because it was a pretty comfortable garment. But the movie was, we shot it in Portugal. And it was a period film set in 1943. And it was just a really great experience. I really enjoyed it.
And like, would you be on the streets after shooting wearing the cassock and the collar?
Oh yeah, I went to bars. You know, like,
who's the priest with the problem?
Who's the priest who's loaded?
What about the research that you've had to do for the street characters that you've played? You know, the cops and people like the Murder One stuff. Did you ever work with cops?
It's one of the great things about acting is that it's an education in itself.
I know, a crash course in everything.
Yeah, you get to kind of like travel in every circle of life, and you're accepted almost everywhere, and it's a great education. And I did have occasion to I hung out with the cops in South Central.
Oh, here in L.A.
Yeah, when research. I've done it in New York too. I know a bunch of guys in the 6th Precinct in New York who are a bunch of great guys. But at the time that I hung out with the cops in L.A., you know, there was a lot of animosity towards LAPD. And I had never had, you know, a strong feeling towards the police as a young man myself.
One way or the other?
Well, I was not fond of them, I will say.
Were you in trouble with the police?
Not really, you know, minor stuff as a kid.
Stuff, yeah.
But you kind of grow up with this kind of weird fear of the police, and that if you see a police car, you're like, you know,
oh, absolutely. Hey,
straighten up.
To this day, I mean, a cop is the only guy who can come up to you in the street, at least in this country, and say, "Come with me."
Yes.
And you have to go with him.
Yes, and that's kind of a scary thing. And I always think that that's weird that we are afraid of people who are employed to protect us. So I went with.
Well, you see, they're also employed to get us.
Yeah, I guess so.
You see, it works at double-edged.
No, see, I think they're employed to get the criminals, not us in general. I think this
but to many of them, I've heard, we are all potential criminals.
Oh, I guess, and I guess they're not.
But anyway, you're in South Central.
But anyway, I'm in South Central, and I'm hanging out with these cops, and you know, I kind of think it's going to be a heavy night because they make me put on a bulletproof vest.
That would be a clue, wouldn't it?
That's a clue right there. So I get in the back of the car, and we're driving along, and there was something going on. There'd been a drive-by shooting the night before, and they had heard from an informant that there was going to be a retaliation.
Right.
So they were very on edge, and we're driving along, and all of a sudden this car just runs a stop sign right in front of us. And it turns out it's the car.
Oh, involved in the drive-by shooting.
It's the car in the drive-by shooting. So all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. They call in for backup. The car pulls in behind them. Other cars pull in front.
Chase is underway now.
And it's not like television. Television, you know, they always portray the police as being very calm. This was like the adrenaline was pumping so hard, and they were screaming, you know, it was like, a car. I mean, it was just really high level. One guy grabs me and shoves me under the police car. He goes, "What the hell are you doing here?" I'm going to ride along. And he shoves me under the car, and I'm laying there looking at all this stuff go down. And I really got, and all kinds of weird stuff. A guy goes up to the trunk. A cop goes up to the trunk.
But did you notice it's all moving so fast? It's just going like this. I remember when I covered the news and I'd get involved in confrontational situations with police and citizens.
Right.
And the screaming back and forth and the taunting, and it's going this fast. I mean,
well, here's what I learned. I came away from this experience of riding with these guys of thinking, I think I've been wrong about this. These guys don't get paid enough.
No, they don't.
And there's not enough of them. Once I saw what they were going through every night, if you can imagine yourself going into every call they get, they don't know what it is.
That's exactly right.
It's a domestic dispute. They go in, they got to go in with the guns up just in case it's not exactly what it appears. So if your adrenaline goes from here to here, 12, 13 times a night.
That's right.
Sooner or later, you're going to snap.
And you're going to react in ways that may not be to your own best interests.
Exactly.
Especially if somebody
I
has a
think
video
is how
camera.
the whole Rodney King thing came about eventually, is that it's a bunch of cops. I'm not condoning what they did, but I think it's a bunch of police under tremendous stress.
And by the time they got there, they were up here.
They were up here, but we didn't see what got them there. And I think that there's got to be more of an understanding of what these guys go through. They are the enemy on the streets down there. You know what I mean? In places,
I know exactly what you mean.
They are the enemy, so constantly they get, you know, they're just under a tremendous amount of pressure.
Interesting what you say, though, how fast it goes. Anyway, I appreciate your coming by. I hope the show I hope it's a great success, and thanks again for coming over. Good to see you again, Anthony. Anthony Lapaglia is the guest. You can see him on Showtime this month. Check the listings for a show called The Garden of Redemption. We'll be right back.